Hello everyone. Today we will talk about the Khaju Bridge. This is a presentation for my thesis in Sapienza, the university in Rome. And I was doing it for my thesis, for my master in conservation architecture. And I will explain it to you. So, first of all, we need to know about the Khaju Bridge history. As you know, this is a map of the Isfahan city. We have the Khaju Bridge here. And the Khaju Bridge is a symbol of Isfahan history. So this is a showcasing of a multi-faced role in the urban life, culture, and also art of the Isfahan. If we want to talk about the Khaju history, we have several periods and era in Iran that we were having the different era. So Khaju was getting more completed and faced with some problems that we solved it. It was first built in Safaviya, and then in Qajar and the late Qajar. We have some renovation and conservation on it, and then on Pahlavi, again, some things happened, which we will talk about it. But what was the Khaju? In the past, at the beginning, it was the urban pass gateway, the border regulation dam, and the platform for the king and the public space, living connection with the Zayandehrud that connect the north and the south of the city. And now we lost lots of that things. Today, we have a dry river. We lost the functions that it was a dam and the pass gateway, because now we can walk also on the riverbed. The passway and the social space. These are the things that we can just enjoy it as a social space. But if we want to talk more about the Khaju has its meaning, its own function when the river is alive. So there is a connection between the river and the Khaju Bridge, because the bridge is always connected to the water and the river. So the water level regulation for the city and the gardens that we had in the past, the history of the population and the ceremonies that was in the past. One of them was Abrizan. In the first of the autumn, we had the ceremony like Abrizan, which the dam that has in the Khaju, it was in Khaju, it was gets worked, and the water between the Sirsapol and the Khaju gets high, in a high level, and it was a festival, which was Abrizan. And the visual display for the water and the bridge and the reflection that we had, and we were enjoying it years ago. But with the river that is dry now, the connection is served still, but the bridge can narrate its own story. How? Today, we have some challenges, but there is some opportunities also for getting back some function that we had. The challenges is that we have some physical damages, like cracks that you also saw, dust, moisture. We had some restoration that was harmful for the bridge also. And there was also some things like the cultural connection between the water, the community, the bridge. It's all was the meaning for the bridge. So this is a challenging that sometimes we feel like, okay, we lost it. But the opportunity is that we can reclaim that function back. We can transfer the bridge to the museum that say its own stories. And then we can get a connection to maybe someone pay attention that, okay, what we can do for the water, what we can do for some things that we had the feelings that we were experiencing for the years that we don't have it now. So now there's a question. We have more bridge like Khaju in the riverbed. Why Khaju? Why not the other bridges? So if I want to explain about it, it's like that, okay, we have the Siosepol, we had Marnan, we have Jui, and we had Siosepol. Okay, these are also the historical and the monuments of the Isfahan. Why we are not working on that? If I want to explain it, it's that the Siosepol, it was the ceremonial things. The Shahristan was ancient, and mostly it was military use. And the Jui, it was irrigation, and also mostly for the royal access. It was for the king at the beginning, so it was more private. The Marnan was also smaller and for the community things. But Khaju is unique. Why? Because it has all of this. It's multifunctional history things. It was for the royal and for the king. It's central pavilion. It can help us to use it for the museum and serve it as the purpose that we have. And it can house the gathering and the public. As you see in the first floor, we had the gathering still now. So that's why I choose Khaju, not the other bridges. And as a case study that I use, okay, how can I make the notice to the Khaju Bridge? I used the Museo delle Mura in Rome, which was the Asian wall, and then they transfer it to the museum. After that, if you walk on this museum, you can see the story of this wall and these things that we had it. So it was a role model and a strong model for me to transfer the Khaju to the museum. But at the beginning, we need to know a bit about the architecture documents about the Khaju and what is the measure of the bridge, how it works. As you see, the Khaju is on 2 levels. The first level, it was using for the dam that the water was getting past, and the second floor was for the passenger that they were using to connect the north and the south of the city. And the height of the museum, of the bridge, is 40 meters, and the weight is 12 meters. The length of the bridge is also 133 meters with the 23 arches. So the concept that I was using is, okay, we don't need to add museum. The Khaju is already a museum. Activating the bridge as its own narrator of its own history. And in the arches, in the platform, and in the communal spaces that we have, we can use it and take this advantage of this masterpiece to say the story of it. I have 2 different parts of the design. One part is the pond, the museum panel spots, which I use 3 spots in the north, in the middle, and in the south of the bridge, that we can have 3 different ponds. And these 3 ponds is the symbol of remembering us a different level of the water that we had. So there is less disturbing to the bridge, because for the monument we don't have allowed to add some things on it or work on anything around it. So the pond is just, we need to have a little things to have these ponds, and it also need to be as natural, because the ponds shouldn't have anything around it like we have the other ponds. So we have 3 ponds. The first one is very low in the depths of the water, so it can reflect us the time that the water is less on the riverbed and the water is getting dry. So we have a little water on it, so it reflects on that state of the time that we have less water. The second was it's the medium one. So we are, when the 2 months of the year, if it's still like that, the water gets open, the dam of the Zayandehrud gets open, and we have water. So after a while, after 2 or 3 days that the water comes to the Khaju, there's more water, but still it's not full. So the medium one is on that stage. So we have a bit more water. And the third one is more, as you can see here. So it shows us the time that the river was full. It's just a symbol. Of course, it's not the same. And if you want to ask, okay, for the most of the years, we don't have the water. And the other parts of the bridge, which we had the stairs, it shows us the time that we don't have water. So it's just the symbol that maybe it can bring something to us and we can feel something that we were experiencing. And of course, maybe after all of this, we get more attention that how we can do river alive. The main purpose of mine was I wanted to do that, but because of something that I also need to follow, I couldn't go for that make the river alive. So I change it to something that gets attention, that's how we can have the river back. And the second one is the panels placement for the museum that we were talking. So we were using the south parts and the north parts and the middle parts of the bridge as a main spot to using our panels to show the history and what happens to the bridge. As you can see here, there is some details that I cut to show where we have the panels. In the pavilion, in the first of the bridge, and in the end. And these are the panels that we designed for the using it on the river. This is a part that we can use a panel. This is the part that I used also the renders for it to put these panels to say its own story. But why these works matter? The Khaju living the memory of Isfahan. A structure is still alive. The gathering is still working, and it's still invites people inside of it. And it's a chance to the history continue, and the main purpose is also, of course, that I mentioned several times that we want more attention to the bridge and the river that maybe we can water back. It's finished now, but I will show you these are the sheets that we worked for the presentation. First is the Isfahan timeline, that we had different era in Isfahan and different things happened in Isfahan, different monuments were built, different things happen even to the bridge, to the water. And if we want to analyze the site of Isfahan, we have different things. We have natural things, we have cultural, we have industrial, we have historical things, and also the religion things, which it's also makes Isfahan one of the really beautiful and big cities that exist in Iran. And I just showed some cases for the natural, which we have Sofa, we have Najwan, and for the cultural, we can, Khaju and any monument that we have, the museum that we have, they are going to the cultural part, and industrial is mostly in the Fulacher and things that we are building. We are working on it, and the historical is also the historical part, like the Naqsh Jahan Square, the palaces that we have, and the mosques that we have, and the religious part is mostly for the mosques that we have. This is the timeline that I showed at the beginning of the presentation for the Safavid, for the Qajar, and late Qajar, and Pahlavi. These are showing the different view that we had, different point, because if you remember, we had a garden also in the past which gets destroyed. The 8th garden that we had, this is the pathway of the 8 gardens, which was starting from the square to the river. It was continuing after river and going to the Hazarji, which now we just have 2 of them. But if we want to say the causes of the dryness in Zayandehrud, we have mainly 3 reasons: the climate change, the water distribution, and the misuse, and also the gardens that they placed around the river. It gets a lot of river on it. So after a while, the river gets dry. This is a timeline of the Zayandehrud River, which it's also faced a dryness during the history, but after a while, the river gets back. But now from 2000, the river is dry and still it's continue. This is explanation and usage, the era, and lots of information about the 4 other bridges that we have in the riverbed. The materials that it was used in the Khaju Bridge, which was the tiles, the bricks, the cement, and the stone in the different parts of it. The feature of the Khaju, which we all know, it was for the gathering, it was dam, it was pass gateway, it was also the religious spot sometimes. It was politics because we had the pavilion on the middle of it, the architectural document. We had also some restoration in the history, which the most of the document is not exist. We don't have some things like that, but I just found 2 of the restoration that we had. But we had like in 80s, in 90s, and in 20s, we had several restoration on Khajus. This is the damages that now we face it, which most of this is a damage, which it's caused because of the dryness of the river, because the mortar that we use in the bridges of Isfahan needs water. When it gets water, it gets stronger. But now we don't have water, so it's getting weak, and we face some cracks on the bridge. The first plan for the designing diagram was in 2 stages, the master and the smaller case, which I choose the 7 zone in a riverbed, but we couldn't work on it. This is the explanation for that 7 zones, which I wanted to work on it. This is a case study, and this is a design idea which I explained to you. Thank you so much.